Filling the conscious mind with ideal conceptions is a characteristic of Western theosophy, but not the confrontation with the shadow and the world of darkness. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The latter procedure, however, is disagreeable and therefore not popular. The aforementioned was a quote from the book The Philosophical Tree from 1945, Collected Works 13, Alchemical Studies, paragraph 335, by Carl Gustav Jung, the psychologist. Our first president, I think, of the Association for Analytical Philosophy. Or Analytical Psychology, that was the one. Okay, so I have nightmares every single night. So my dreams are more like vaguely unsettling nightmares, and my nightmares are like psychological torture. So I lump them both together. I'd say I have dreams, but I don't. It just goes like, so the best I'll get is like horny, then weird. But creepy weird, not just regular weird. So, what can I say? So yours truly cannot remember his last pleasant dream. The fluffy kittens and puppies and flowers, no. If I do, they're trying to kill me or they have some kind of scheme. So in the slumbering hallucination of concern for this upload, I regained consciousness in a hospital on a stretcher after my cranial shunt apparently failed. The doctor was heard through a fog of sedation saying medical sounding things about having to clear the blockages with a syringe in said implant, or I'd have died since I have a missing gland that regulates cerebral spinal fluid production, because my mom did LSD while she was pregnant and my twin brother and I were born prematurely, so they had to put in a manual drainage valve. So to prevent the hydrocephalus or fluid on the brain buildup, which would cause enough buildup if the implant were left in a malfunctioning state for very long. It happened to my twin brother, he almost died. That was when we were kids. Which would cause my brain to hemorrhage. The fluid would basically crush my brain, okay? And I'd die very slowly. And I was then transferred from my stretcher by a group of all men and placed on a temporary hospital bed.
Rook, I'm sorry.
The guy that brought me into the hospital, I then noted, I had gotten a hold of an oxygen mask and was getting high therewith to the sound of the protesting women folk. And I found myself thinking, should I call a cab afterward? And would he even be able to drive me home? And this guy was a stranger. I never met him.
I had no idea.
I'm guessing no, and yes, I should have called a cab. So, our dream warrior himself was punished when he mentioned abortion due to the table full of fetuses nearby. And we're talking just like 20 or more being the product. I said to him that, to the doctor, that abortion was a product of women voting without registering for selective service because the way they vote and how they make it possible. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so much of it.
It's probably only a few hours back to Missouri.
And how was I punished, you ask? As I was strapped down thoroughly, the cucked male doctor made me watch a long video about abortions and how they are done. While next to me, there were all female nurses and assistants literally dissecting aborted fetuses while they're laughing and giggling and talking and posing them for fun and making them do stuff. And then there were also oversized fetuses that looked like giant fetuses or like alien fetuses. It was pretty creepers. And there were little girls which had been let into a sterile environment for some reason. And they were playing with the oversized ones and giggling like they were dolls. And I was just like, this is mad creepy. So after I told the doctor that women are the cause of abortion due to their natural predilections and their voting without being eligible for conscription, freedom from responsibility, I also mentioned that stem cells from the aborted fetuses are then used for stem cell research True story. I'll hyperlink something. Especially, those cells from the aborted fetuses are especially used for beauty treatments and products, makeup, so forth. Beauty creams and stuff, because which are virtually only used by women themselves, which completes the circle of human sacrifice. And yes, abortion is human sacrifice. Look at the reasons they do it. And that, though, the male doctor, he didn't like that not one bit. Now you're going to have to watch this movie. Alright? So, suffice to say that one does not simply troll a figment of one's own imagination. The male nurses, who were at a bare minimum and otherwise than Caucasian due to affirmative action, hoisted my hospital bed, which had 4 chains, by which it was fixtured, and slid it onto rail racks to the back of the room. I found myself suspended in a horizontal bed on what looked like a meat rack, next to organs, blood pouches, various limbs, body parts, and even entire bodies themselves, all vacuum sealed in heavy-duty plastic bags. The last thing that I recall was waking up from watching the non-existent movie on abortion procedures. Consider this: since 1973, when Roe v. Wade created the so-called right to elective abortion on demand in the United States, nearly 60 million children have been killed by legal abortion. The death toll persists, over 1 million lives lost to abortion every single year. So much for safe and rare, as they call it. Abortion is the leading cause of death in America. To put that in perspective, the U.S. government reports that heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. Blatant falsehood. Killing about 600,000 people each year. Heart disease. But abortion is actually the leading cause of death, and it kills almost twice as many as 600,000. So we're looking at about, a million, 1,200,000. So this is unacceptable, alright? And it's dishonest that they report it that way. But alright, I'm your host, the Furious Nevermind. My soul rages with strength. I don't always wake up from being dead, but when I do, I'm asleep.
Hello, John. Free in the marina. Adelaide's a bit of a pistol, but she could be a big asset for us.